breakfast serves as a great opportunity for former FFA members and FFA supporters who work and live here in DC to interact with the nation's top FFA leaders. So with that, let's get the program started. Our next speaker grew up on a small farm in upstate New York where she raised brown Swiss dairy cattle and bore goats. She's the daughter of 2 agricultural educators and was the 2013-2014 New York State FFA President, and was the National FFA Eastern Region Vice President in the years of 2016 to 17. She's a graduate of Morrisville State College with a degree in Agricultural Communications and a graduate of Tarleton State University with a degree in Agricultural Communications. She currently serves as the Advanced Lead for Secretary Sonny Perdue here at the United States Department of Agriculture. She also happened to be a national officer and facilitator at the State Officer Summit when I was an officer and got to attend. She's a longtime friend and, of course, a longtime friend of the FFA. Please help me in joining to the stage, Ashley Williams.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the USDA. It's so exciting to see the patio filled with FFA jackets, supporters, and alumni. And it takes me back to my FFA experience, and as I was thinking about it, FFA is really the biggest reason that I am where I am today. Through my experiences in FFA, I was able to travel around the country, travel around the world, and even travel right here to DC and spend time on the Witten patio. In fact, at this event 2 years ago was the first time I met my current boss, Secretary Perdue. 2 years ago, he signed a memorandum of understanding with FFA. USDA and FFA committed to working together to heighten the public interest in agriculture and prepare youth for careers in agriculture. And in my opinion, because of his leadership, this is a commitment that the Department of Agriculture has certainly kept. And if it wasn't exciting enough that we got to see him sign the Memorandum of Understanding, we even got to take one of his famous Secretary Sonny selfies with him, which is still by far one of the coolest pictures that I've ever taken. But as I look out and see the jackets, I'm excited for the opportunity that you all have ahead of you this year. But I want to encourage you all to take advantage of the opportunity that you have today to interact and to build relationships with the folks, the alumni, and the supporters right here in this room. And the relationships that I built through FFA are the only reason that I was able to intern at the United States Department of Agriculture after I took off the blue jacket. And just because I took off the jacket doesn't mean growth stopped. It just looked a little different here. My mentors came in the form of incredible coworkers that mentored me and challenged me and pushed me to reach the goals that I wanted to. And because of those relationships and because of the strong leadership here at USDA, I wanted to come back full time. And one of the things that I heard echoed all of the time while I was an intern and here today is the Secretary's motto for the department: do right and feed everybody. Now, the Secretary is the kind of leader that wants to make the Department of Agriculture the most customer-focused and service-driven agency within the federal government. I've seen his commitment in action time and time again while he's out on the road listening to farmers and agriculturists. But he doesn't just hear them, he listens to them and he takes action to make the future of agriculture successful. And he's the kind of leader that cares about the people that make the future of agriculture. And that's all of you. In fact, he's interacted with FFA members from all 50 states, Puerto Rico, and the Virgin Islands. Whether that be in some of your hometown through his travels, or while he spoke at the National FFA Convention for the past 2 years. So I'm so excited for you all to get to hear from him today, and without further ado, I'm proud to introduce my boss, the Secretary of Agriculture, Sonny Perdue.
Good morning. I think you all just got a great example of what good FFA training and leadership does, seeing how I actually addressed you this morning, and we're happy to have her, and I'm proud to have FFA represented on our team today. Ashley, as she indicated to you, interned for us in 2018, and she wanted to come back, and we wanted her back because she brings an energy and a professionalism to our advanced team of knowing what you guys are doing out there that's very important. So we're happy to have her here, and I hope some of you others would aspire potentially to come and work for the USDA as well, and I hope to see you here. So when I go across the nation, it's really important. Ashley is there ahead of me. We go in a lot of different environments, and she's there doing the advance, checking out, making sure all the arrangements are settled there, who we're going to meet, where we're going to meet, and do things like that. So I assured her that our radar is on to make connections with the former, current, and future FFA members. So we're happy to have all of you here this morning. I appreciate you coming to town and visiting with us here. You're an important part of our constituency and our partnership across the country. I'm really encouraged to welcome all of you, especially I think maybe for their inaugural trip. We've got 15 Native American FFA leaders. So thank you all. And you see these jackets down here. We've got our Manners leadership team with us again this year. So welcome, guys, and good to have all of you here. And again, I think you probably already know by now, I'm a big fan of yours, of FFA, and what the program involves, what the leadership that you get, the training that you get, not just relating to agriculture, but in your civic responsibility. As leaders in your community, you're going to be called to give back, and whether it's serving on boards or authorities or whatever in your local community, maybe state, maybe federal, in a advisory committee in some way or another. What you're gaining there, I don't even think you can realize at this point what you're really getting in preparation for a life of service. So that's really so important. I think you're changing the face of agriculture by really supplying a diverse group of talented young people that hopefully will flow into this exciting field that we call agriculture. You all know the demographics. There are more farmers that look like me than look like you, and that's why we need you, because y'all look a whole lot better than I do. And they've got a lot more runway ahead than I do, so it's our job in this generation to prepare you with the tools that you need to really thrive in this complex world today. And agriculture is complex, but it's getting more and more exciting. I truly believe we're on the cusp of really a fourth revolution in biotechnology and agricultural productivity, precision agriculture that is going to be more thrilling the more that we go. And you know why it's important? We got about 10 billion people coming pretty soon to this planet. There's a lot of hungry mouths, and we're going to have every tool at our disposal to make sure that we can fulfill our motto at USDA, and that is do right and feed everyone. There's not a condition there to feed everyone in the United States. We're already feeding people around the world, and we'll need to more and more as we go forward. So it's going to rely on you and your energy, your creativity, your innovation, your questioning of why not? Why can't we do this? Let's do that, rather than succumbing to the fact that we've always done it that way. So it's a wide open world out there. Ashley mentioned, this is our 2-year anniversary of the, right here on this stage, signing the MOU with Mark Peschel there, and I am happy that we did that. It recognizes really a covenant relationship between FFA and USDA in a way. We agreed to collaborate both on short-term and long-term initiatives to motivate both of us. You inspire me. I know that the MOU said we're to lead and train and inspire you, but really you young leaders inspire me with your energy and your inquisitiveness about agriculture and natural resources. So we've made a real effort to recruit and retain interns from FFA's pool of qualified talent, just like Ashley. You may remember our previous chief of staff, Ray Starling, was a former national officer as well, and we also stole our chief of staff from the Office of Partnerships and Public Engagement, Riley Paget from FFA. You may remember him. He was a national officer as well as Matt Lohr, chief of the Natural Resources Conservation Service. So I think this is just an example of how FFA produces leaders, and you don't have to wait for that leadership. You're leaders now, but you can just move from one to the other and on up the ladder in that way. this summer. We've also enjoyed the service of FFA interns who are alumni. Two of these many interns are Jay Collas of Iowa and a past state FFA officer just like you, and Jacob Stukenberg of Wisconsin, involved in his chapter and also his alumni associations as well. But that MOU that we signed right here allowed me the chance to attend not one but two of your national conventions back to back. And if you remember, anybody there this year at the national? Well, I brought a guest with me. You remember that? And it was an honor for FFA and for me to have President Trump address the group. And I think you made on him and just the visits that he had with you, watching your response, I think you made a huge impression on him. So I think that was very good. That's important. The MOU also started our conversations to establish an agricultural youth organization coordinator here at USDA, and that new position is another example of both getting good value out of the relationships and what we agree to do to one another, with one another. The coordinator is someone to be my eyes and ears for youth organizations like yours to assure that our long-term and short-term goals align with yours. It's about communication and staying in touch. So I'm proud to say, after we did that, Congress saw the value in the idea and made the coordinator position part of the 2018 Farm Bill. And so now we'll have a full-time coordinator for you right here in this building to relate to you and be your contact person. So USDA desires to have a relationship with national FFA and local FFA chapters across the country and the world. And I have traveled to all 50 states. I've been fortunate to get in every state in the union, and I can't recall a stop where I did not meet and have a relationship and conversation with a bright, friendly, positive leader in that distinctive blue and gold jacket. So I look forward to seeing you around the country. You know, that jacket that you're wearing with the gold emblem is recognized around the world as a trademark. A trademark of what? It's young American leadership. In fact, there's one on display. You may have seen the one at the Smithsonian National Museum of Modern History, American History. So if you haven't, go by and see it. It's kind of cool. It belonged to Carleen Lidlow of Wisconsin. Carleen was the first woman to win the State Farmer Award, and she's one of thousands of young women who are leaders in FFA today. So this year also marks the 50th anniversary of FFA, extending membership to guess who? 50% of Americans, women. So congratulations, guys. Can I hear a shout out from the women in here? Woo, woo. I kind of warn the guys everywhere I go when I'm introduced to the state officers, guess what gender they are. So guys, y'all need to pick up your game because the women are taking over. But look around the room and you see that the young women here proved it's one of the best actions ever in that regard. And you probably heard me remind you, if you've heard me speak to you all about your position in life, is to remind you that you're not just leaders for tomorrow, but you're really leaders today. You don't have to wait to express that leadership. Your sphere of influence, frankly, is much larger than you might imagine in your family, in your community, in your schools, and in your clubs and other things there. So I want you to step out and be the leader that you already are. We need to courageously lead as we've never led before. America needs leadership more today than it ever has. We need to see yourself as leaders beyond the fences that you think confine you. Look around, look at the horizon, and move out and be really more than you think you could ever be. There's an undercurrent in our culture that is eroding our patriotism, our pride, and belief in American exceptionalism. I don't see that in FFA. That's why we need you to lead the way in those attributes. You've got to lead, turn the tide, and reclaim patriotism and pride in America as an exceptional nation. And I think you're the ones to do that, and that's what I'm counting on. It was really the greatness of our freedom and liberty that brought the Pilgrims to America for a new hope, for hope of a new beginning. They declared our independence. They held us together during a horrible civil war, connected the oceans through the Panama Canal, and fought and died in the world wars to preserve freedom. America is a great nation. On the wall behind me is a memorial of the men and women USDA who died in World War I. Just last week, the world remembered a historic American achievement 50 years ago. I wish you could have been here with me on the roof of USDA as we watched the Apollo projected on the Washington Monument. Anything of you saw that? It's kind of cool. And it was a great occasion. Just kind of brought back chills of where we've been. So you remember the quote from Neil Armstrong as he stepped onto the face of the moon? One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin planted the first flag on the moon. And today there are 6 American flags, 6 flags, all of them American, planted on the moon by American astronauts. America is an exceptional nation and a great nation. But we need you as leaders of today not to be ashamed, not to be embarrassed, not to be intimidated by that fact, but to stand up and boldly lead in proclaiming the greatness of America. Lead today by reminding and communicating to others that America is great, an exceptional nation, and it is the superpower of food for the world. And we want you all to keep it that way. So thank you for coming, and I look forward to your questions and conversation. Thank you again very much.
Thank you so much, Secretary Perdue, for your remarks. It's clear that the relationship between the National FFA Organization and the USDA is strong, and we have you to thank for that, so thank you so much. At this time, as Secretary Perdue mentioned, we would love to take some questions from the state officers in this room, as well as from those watching via the live stream. If you are watching on the live stream and have a question to ask, please just state your question, as well as your name, your state, and the chapter you are from. State officers, if you have a question, please come to the microphone at the front of the room so that Secretary Sonny Perdue has a chance to answer.
Okay, no further questions, all right? Who wants to be the bold first one? I see some movement here.
Were you ever part of any agricultural organization?
Yes, our farm. The question was I ever a part of any agricultural youth organizations? I live in a county in Middle Georgia where there was a division of the county. I grew up in the country, but the rural part went to Terry High School where the FFA program and the 4-H programs were. We were in Warner Robins where we had no agricultural programs, so I did not get to participate myself, but as I said, I was intimately involved in our farm production there and participated in that way on an ongoing basis. Learned a lot of the things that you're learning regarding agricultural production and hard work, but I didn't have the experience of leadership like you're getting through a formalized FFA program. When I became a state senator, I had the joy of visiting your meetings there at local high schools, and the good news is, while I didn't have the privilege of having a program at my school, it's virtually ubiquitous across Georgia now in middle schools and high schools, FFA programs, so that's the growth. So thank you. Yes.
What do you believe to be the biggest issue facing productive agriculture, and how do you think we'll solve that?
I think really the biggest issue, we hear a lot about sustainability, we hear a lot about environmental friendly farming, and I tell people that the biggest issue is we'll have plenty of sustainability when we have profitability. And that's a really farming stuff right now. There are challenges out there. Emotional stress is there, financial stress, family stress, and even community stress happens when you have people that are working hard every day, they're doing everything they can, and just breaking even best or hard to provide for their family. But the problem is, and what it really affects is, your parents and those of you who have farms are many of the times in these kind of things are not encouraging their kids to come back to the farm because the difficulty of making a livelihood. We know farming is a good life and a good living, but we need to make a financial living as well in that. So the risk-taking and everything else, the challenges. That's why I'm very excited about the new technologies and things out there like precision agriculture. And but what that's going to take is a nationwide effort of broadband connectivity to connect all of us. So we got a lot of challenges, but the good thing about it is, based on our history of production, it's nothing that hard-working, resilient farm ranchers cannot overcome. So thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Secretary, we have a question from the live stream. Matthew Brownlee, South Carolina FFA state officer, is interested in current trade discussions and how that's impacting the American farmer.
Yes, trade is very important. It's probably the number one thing that I hear about wherever we go, certainly among producers. But look at it from this way. We know in past years, America, the United States, has been dependent upon foreign nations for energy. We were energy dependent, but we've never been food dependent. And that is a very important blessing that we need to recognize and appreciate here in our country. The very fact that we can produce more than we can consume domestically is really a blessing. Now that means that our farmers need to depend on markets across the world, and that's what President Trump is trying to level a playing field and to make other countries trade fairly with our farmers. If you think about it, our farmers and ranchers are so productive. If these countries didn't have barriers, we would sort of overwhelm them in their production. There's a certain amount of protectionism there. But trade is very important. We're working on a deal with Japan right now, a free trade agreement there. We settled a Korean agreement. Obviously, China is the big issue right now, and we'll be going back over there this week. But President Trump is committed to get a fair deal. It's also very important with the USMCA agreement, the NAFTA replacement, that we get that ratified by Congress so that we can have a relationship with our nearest neighbors and the top 2 or 3 in our trading partners being Mexico and Canada. So that was a better deal, as President Trump promised, and we need to get that ratified. Hopefully Congress will deal with that as soon as they come back from the recess. Thank you. Well, what incentives are we able to see? There's you want to repeat the question, or anyway, I think you were talking about really a technology using that. That's why labor is the number 2 issue. We already talked about trade being number 1. Labor is the number 2 issue. We don't have an agricultural domestic workforce in this country that wants to work in agriculture, and it's becoming more and more difficult, particularly those high-tech crops there. So there's a lot of investment, a lot of energy into labor-saving devices across the world. We're seeing Silicon Valley really begin to invest. But the fact is, many of the major manufacturers, the major people like names that you would all recognize, they already have autonomous type of equipment on the shelf waiting to deploy. You know what it's dependent on? That broadband connectivity that I talked about. Some of these sub-inch technology accuracy of autonomous tractors and being able to cut a furrow in the fall, put half of the fertilizer down there, and then come back in the spring and put that seed in that same sub-inch technology with half of the inputs and greater outputs. That's what the productivity I'm talking about is. So I think what we're doing is cooperating with them and helping with innovation grants. But also, you got to remember that many of the best ideas in agriculture come from farm sheds. So farmers are out here figuring, why not this? They're great innovators and creators, and what we see happening is the best ideas sometimes come from the mind of the producers that want a better way of production.
Hello. What do you think are some of the most exciting opportunities for not only youth in the FFA, but youth in agriculture in general?
Using agriculture and FFA, exciting opportunities. the world is there are no boundaries. I think, again, you see some examples here of what people who've used their FFA experience are able to do, not only here, but in this national capital region and a lot of other agencies. But your leadership is not just confined to agriculture. It's problem solving. That's what FFA does. It teaches you how to solve problems in a very noble cause of producing food for the world, but it also helps you to solve problems civically and socially and those kind of things that help. It causes us to think about how we can do things, how we cannot do things. And that's the power of these type of organizations. As you work together within your own local groups, you inspire one another, and we learn to communicate across diverse platforms of social situations, and learn to communicate our ideas and thoughts there. And that's what's needed in America. We need dialogue, we need communication, we need to bridge gaps. One of the things that my goal is for broadband across the United States is I think it has a real opportunity to bridge the rural-urban gap. We're seeing a real division, continue to divide rural and urban social issues. But I don't think kids that live in rural areas ought to be disadvantaged over telemedicine, distance learning, and e-commerce and those kind of things. So that's what we're trying to do. I think technology has the ability to bring us together rather than divide us.
Thank you.
Okay, members, this will be the final question.
Good morning, my name is Dion. I'm from the great state of Nevada. This morning we talked about very important issues in agriculture, and my question for you, heading into the 2020 election year, what are the top 3 priorities for the United States Department of Agriculture?
Yeah, again, I think that's a great question. Certainly, irrespective of election year or cycles and those kind of things, the mission is the same. The globe is to do right, feed everyone, global idea. The tactical issues to be the most effective, the most efficient, the most customer-focused agency in the federal government. There are issues, I can tell you the top 3 on farmers' minds across there. It's trade. I'd love to have the trade resolved issue globally by the time, whether it's China, the EU, Mexico, Canada, Japan, all those things, as well as in our Foreign Agricultural Service, we're traveling to all these other countries that you may not think about, India, Malaysia, Indonesia, Thailand, Philippines, and Cambodia, to develop other markets like we've developed the Chinese market. There are going to be hungry mouths out there. The continent of Africa will have a huge demand for technology and food production going forward. Trade, we have a question about labor. Labor is a challenge. How do we get a comprehensive immigration bill that will satisfy the legal, reliable ag workforce that we need to continue to be productive in that way, and then continue along a deregulatory environment that frees up our economy to continue to do all that we do. I think obviously President Trump's tax policies have helped this great economy now, but frankly, I think it's much a deregulatory environment. People feel free to innovate and create and to inspire to do other things because they don't feel like the federal government is working against them. So those would be the top 3 things that we'd like to see, really all the time, not just in an election cycle.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your wonderful responses, and thank you to the FFA members here in the room and on the live stream for asking those insightful questions. We now have the awesome opportunity of taking a picture with Secretary Perdue. So if all the members can come close to the front of the chairs, and we're going to take it from the front, and the picture will be taken from up top of the patio.
Bertha.
Maybe they'll do that. He's Lily. Grab your Anita, right there where the
Wait, what'd you say?
steps. Throw your stuff away.
Oh, look. Sorry.
Tell him to grab a seat. Tell him to grab a seat. There's more to the program.
It's once more. Take a seat, and we'll continue with the program. Let's give one more round of applause to Secretary Sonny Perdue for his incredible relationship with the National FFA Organization. At this time, I'd also like to welcome this year's officers in manners, the minorities in agriculture, natural resources, and related sciences. They share our belief in the next generation of agriculture and future leaders. They're joining us today, and we're so grateful that they're here. Let's give a round of applause to the manners officers. For the next part of our program, I'd like to welcome to the stage my teammate, the National FFA Eastern Region Vice President, Adrian Schuck.
Thank you, Luke. 2019 is an important year, especially for women in FFA. 50 years ago, there were student leaders and there were delegates, just like there are this morning at the USDA. However, 50 years ago, the delegates looked a lot different than we do today. They were only male. However, in 1969, they would vote to allow women full membership in FFA with all its rights and privileges. This year, at the National FFA Convention, we will be celebrating 50 years of women in FFA. This celebration will continue throughout the year. We will be encouraging alumni chapters, corporate supporters, sponsors, members, and women in agriculture to join us in this celebration. One of the ways we can celebrate progress is by remembering and reflecting upon how we got where we are today. As part of National FFA's 50 Years of Women in FFA celebration, we are creating several videos and lessons that can be used at chapter meetings and in classrooms. If you visit www.ffa.org/50 Years of Women in FFA, it's also linked on the FFA homepage. You will find articles, stories, videos, and other resources to help you celebrate this milestone with us. We have another celebration that is unique to Washington, D.C. 2019 also marks 50 years that we've been hosting the Washington Leadership Conference for FFA members in our nation's capital. Alumni in the room may remember it as the Washington Conference Program, now known as the Washington Leadership Conference. For 50 years, this conference has provided life-changing experiences and opportunities. In fact, WLC is happening right now. This morning, as we are eating our breakfast together, students from all over the United States are visiting the Holocaust Museum and discussing the importance of diversity in our societies. If we are in the crowd right now and we participated in the Washington Leadership Conference, let's go ahead and throw our hand in the air. Great. If we participated in the conference, we want to hear your story. You can share with us by checking in at www.ffa.org/WLC-50. When you check in, you can learn about a new WLC endowment that we are creating to ensure WLC stays around for another 50 years. A major donation has already been given to this endowment, and we will be announcing that gift very soon. If you care about this conference and know some folks that participated, please consider to check in and follow along. I would now like to turn the podium back to my teammate, Mr. Luke O'Leary.
Thank you, Agent, for providing those updates on some incredible celebrations of our organization. We want to thank all of you who have joined us this morning, both virtually and here in person. I hope this was as cool as I thought it was, because this is a very special opportunity for our organization to meet together with those who are supporters, alumni, other organizations, as well as, of course, with those who work in the United States Department of Agriculture. State officers, now is a wonderful time to take advantage of this opportunity that we have with the people in this room. We have alumni, supporters, board members in this room with us today. We have the next section of time to visit with these alumni and supporters. Alumni in attendance, take some time this morning to share your FFA experiences in the jacket. Let's talk about the progress that our organization has made since you were an FFA member. How did FFA help you to get to the place where you are today? Let's share those experiences with the students here. State officers, share with the alumni your experiences. What has been most special and meaningful for you in the jacket? What are your future plans, and how can those alumni members and supporters help you reach those plans? This is a time for connection and conversation. Our thanks to the DC metro area FFA alumni and supporters, as well as our board members for joining us today. The buses providing transportation for students will be leaving promptly at 9:50 a.m. at the same location where they dropped us off at. I encourage you all to share one more business card, have one more conversation, make one more connection before our time is over. We are where we are as an organization because of the contributions of the past. But the future will be determined by these great leaders in this room. Thank you so much for everyone joining us here today. On behalf of the National FFA organization, we thank you for being here.